right. There's been many interesting, fascinating poets who have passed through the Holy Land over the years. I miss some of the Anglo-speaking poets, Robert Friend, Dennis Silk, who passed away, to say thank you to them even now. And Milton Kessler and Seymour Krim. Peter Everwine is still alive and kicking, thank God. And I'm here tonight with my daughter Yael. And poetry, the topography of poetry, the imagistic topography, if you will, of writing in Israel, for me has always been, it's always been a very fertile land. I sometimes write about America. I've sometimes gone very far away from Israel and written about Israel. So place is important in my work, loci, place. But I'm not going to talk too much. I'd rather read the poetry and then serve it up and take it if you want it. Okay. This poem was written in Sfat when we were still in Lebanon. And it was a response to something I saw on the news, where you'll hear, Messianic hot pepper poem, or details from South Lebanon. When the army laid out the bodies of the 4 Party of God terrorists, I noticed lying next to the silencer and Kalashnikovs a bottle of harissa hot sauce, and wondered what they ate before they were shot, and remembered my New Orleans jazz hope that Cayenne could unite the world, not in violence, but in one peaceful feast, one communal shindig, a messianic rush, where even the dead get their hearts beating to the peppers that make us sigh for water and prayer. Okay. Thank you very much. My last year in graduate school is a poem about this struggle. I'm not allowed to critique my own poems. So what I mean is, somebody pointed out to me something about this poem, and maybe I'll say after I read the poem and see if you caught it. My last year in graduate school. Strange thrill downtown, seeing a bright-eyed cheerleader smile. During the basketball game, I'd watched her thrown up in the air, caught a glimpse of the baby fat thighs, her hands lowered to pull the mini down. A modest gesture that excites me, all that energy displayed with hips shaking back and forth. Maybe it's because I lived in an all-boys rabbinical school and then got my degree in a foreign country. I now appreciate the plain woman playing the flute in the second row of the band, seated with her collegiate braces and freckles and oily curls. I adore the cheerleaders and the brassy sounds of the tuba. Maybe I just want to belong and feel that I'm not always the outsider, the Jew boy who hears the closed teeth grind, "Jew me down, Jew boy," and yet the team spirit's in me. I want to belong and shout, "Go, state, go!" And I do. The milky shiksas turn me on. A breathless chill overtakes me when the band plays and they sway all firm and full of Appalachian tradition. The critic said to me that when I said "Go, state, go," I wasn't talking about Penn State, but I was talking about Israel. The state of Israel. This is what a critic told me. And he asked me if I intended that, and I was mum. I didn't answer. Figured, you know, why not? Okay. I have some serious poems too. Although I think that was good. Okay. This poem is called On the D Train from Sheepshead, and it was composed on the subway. They keep the lights on the court in the bay so the turf glows moon green where the footballers play, and the creation myths, midnight gems on the playground, cuss and sweat as Whitman says, all heroic deeds were performed in the open air. Through the hole in the fence, my family's walked to Grandma's before she died, and now to Aunt Rhoda's. In Sea Isle's apartments, frail Claire's body smoked away the sweet odor of soups. Riding the D, I remember their stories of the apartment with the shakes, too close to the L. The photo of her hair, long and tied and back, smiling with my slim old man, holding a big blue caught off the bay. My students eat too much sugar, and I wonder how they sleep. My friend in the trauma center of Brookdale fixes gunshot wounds. At Coney Island, delivered 22 babies. Light, hope, friend with your hands, heal. Believe, old Brooklyn, the testament. The sky can't be only smoke and filth. Street ball on the blacktop loved your rainbow laces. Walt discussed politics here. Brooklyn, once farms and sprawling in Flatbush. Brooklyn, where my mother's car got stolen, where my father became an orphan. Brooklyn, the bridge, the fireworks, the city's fiery parcels, all undone. The kid from PS 269, Julio, eaten by the polar bear at Prospect Park Zoo. Here, grandmothers threw salt on the brownstone steps. In winter, gave soup and lullabies. San Francisco acid trip. I'm on H Street, looking for Love Street. 2 hits of Mr. Bob, smoking a pipe in a loud checkered suit, living in my car, on food stamps, the blotter taken after Shirley, homeless astrologer with connections to the Manson clan, straight gray hippie hair, malnourished frame, reads my palm. She asked to sleep in my car. The 1967 Mercury Montego convertible lent to me by DE. I say, sure, we'll park under the Golden Gate. And then I took the trip and lay fearful in the dark of the McDonald's parking lot. Black kids on bicycles, popping wheelies and screaming. Heads saying, no, these aren't cannibals, but where do the drums keep coming from? 1984 in the front seat, looking at the emblem, Montego becomes Mount Ego. That mountain of self all must climb. But who counted on this angst? Shirley sees me back on the hate in front of the Pall Mall. She's begged, borrowed, scored 2 tuna fish sandwiches, but I refuse to eat. I'm tripping on LSD. That cat from the Church of the Subgenius keeps lifting his pipe to my head saying, it's all bullshit, man, worship it. And she wants me to eat. The baggies turning green, early 80s, still speedy chemicals. Where's the white vehicle of our love? gave it to X to transact a deal. The street dims in slow yellow hues as she pulls her fist from down by her hip and cracks it across my jaw. I go down. My glasses fly off. Sight comes back only later in a wave of terror. Here I'm kissing concrete. I sleep under Oakland Bay Bridge. I can't come down. Hi. Those last two poems are published online at a place called thebluejewyorker.com, a journal of survival and ecstasy. It's the first time I published online, and it's kind of a kick. Okay, this was a poem I wrote on a napkin in East Jerusalem in 1986, and it's set up like a form. It's called Way of the World. 1. When they asked me my religion, I said, Ana Morani, Ana Sha'er. I go to the desert and sing. 2. When they asked me when I was born, I said again. 3. When I filled out the form, I said nothing. I cringed. 4. When they called me up for the army, I said, do you need a poet? They put me against a wall and counted to 10. This is another Brooklyn poem. This is my grandpa Dave. In 1899, he came from Hungary with the royal name of Schonbrun in his passport. Then a picture, Grandpa Dave with his biplane, and this story. He flew over Germany in another war with his tefillin tucked in his leather flying jacket, a middleweight champ of the airborne expeditionary forces with a jab like a windmill. My grandfather, who I remember holding me warmly, ran on the socialist ticket in Brooklyn in the year 1930, combating anti-Semitism and reforming the Labor Party. The stories of Dave firing back at Murder Incorporated and Dutch Schultz on Fifth Avenue, or rolling the blackjack inside a newspaper to fight off hired New York thugs. David, the chiropractor, who demanded union labels on my parents' wedding invitations. Who bailed my father out of jail for smuggling guns to the Haganah off Brooklyn Pier. Who died suddenly of a heart attack at the racetrack in the arms of New York's finest as death called in the old debt. My wonderment is again kindled at the strong Roman nose in the portrait that must have hung on Bedford Avenue in Flatbush. The respect due a father, a grandfather, the guts of hope in crazy America. Digging my worldly grave. Now this poem started out on kibbutz, and I wasn't counting the